Welcome to the launch of the Bathurst Remembers Project. The concept originated from Bathurst Regional Council working in conjunction with the Community Filmmakers Group, Communication and Resources Project, or CARP, and Bathurst Production House, AVAMS, over the past 4 years. From the research and trialling of pilot programs by filmmaker Bruce Ryan, working in conjunction with Council's Administration Manager John Clegg, we have now reached the stage where the program can be open to the community and given the impetus it needs to ensure the DVDs produced are easily accessed through Bathurst Library and other educational sources. We also hope local filmmakers, historians and students of media are encouraged to join in the production process to ensure the project's continuation and expansion. Significant materials for the series have come from the former Department of Education's Media Unit and CARP video collections. Master tapes from the Media Unit, through the efforts of Gerard Martin, member for Bathurst, and Bruce Ryan, have been placed under the custodianship of Council and are now stored in the Bathurst Library archives. They contain a wealth of materials on communities and schools throughout the Western region, compiled over the last 2 decades of the 20th century. New materials are also being frequently filmed on significant events and added to the collection. For example, films shot on Bathurst's involvement in the 2000 Olympics and the Centenary of Federation await compilation. Just this week, a new DVD on the 150th anniversary of Cobb & Co., including a movie of the reenactment journey from Barrington to Bourke, has been released. Let's now see some extracts from the presentation Bruce screened at the Society of Motion Pictures and Television Engineers Convention at Darling Harbour earlier this year. It illustrates how production processes can bring about quality restoration of valued historical glimpses of our past, not only in Bathurst but ultimately the whole of Western region.
The Media and Resources Committee was primarily concerned with developing audio-visual resources for teachers on a local basis, as well as trialling and implementing the then new draft curriculum in mass media education. All of this occurred in the late 70s. Besides teachers and librarians participating, the committee received strong support from the AV department at Mitchell CAE under Ian Brewer.
The film and video project had been commenced by Bruce Ryan, working with students in school on film production using photograph, sound, slides, Super 8 films, etc. Bruce was also doing communication, PR and film studies at the time with Mitchell CAE and the Australian Film and Television School. His mentors were people such as Tom Hogan, David Potts, Neil MacDonald and Dean Hutton. Western Education Region set up a media unit and began a regular televised program on CBN8. CBN8 later became Prime Television. This program was titled Around the Schools.
Around the Schools was to provide a window in education on the good things happening in our schools, and particularly the work of the teachers and the students, what was happening right at the classroom level. I think parents and the society want to know what's happening at that grassroots, what's happening in the classroom. And for the period that we worked, I think we showed lots was happening.
In 1979, the station management approached the Western Area Department of Education Director, Mr. Doug Rickard, on the possibility of commencing some form of children's session on a cooperative basis. Out of that approach, Around the Schools was born, and the program is now well established. It is unique in Australian television, being the only one of its kind. Over the 5 years it has been in production, tens of thousands of school children have participated, and the crew has travelled hundreds of thousands of kilometres to visit hundreds of different schools. Its success lies in its ability to move around the viewing area, picking up stories when and where they happen. In 1980, the Australian Broadcasting Tribunal gave the program its official C rating, a coveted award in itself.
Did you get any real positive feedback from the schools that you were filming?
Certainly did, Jeff. The feedback was the students and the staff wanting in the first place for us to come out and film. It was a new medium for them to work with something else besides the written word and besides an audio recorder. So it was an extension of the work that teachers and students can do in composing stories about what they were doing. So we felt it was a great reward. We also got the other reward in that the number of people who asked for copies of the programs and who wrote to us when Around the Schools was screened, saying that they enjoyed the program. It was localised, so it had more importance.
A number of the kids in the region were directly involved in the productions, especially in the later years, and just the interview presentation. Do you think that sort of helped kick a few kids off into film careers, maybe?
It'll be interesting to see where those students have ended up, but I do know a couple of them who've gone on to follow a media-related strand, and of course those that came to us from Mitchell CSU already had that interest, and we provided some of the icing, I think, for them by letting them work on practical projects. They'll always remember that they did something in film, and perhaps they might not all be filmmakers, but they might be writers and good communicators.
The first major project of CARPS was that commissioned by a combined CAP program of North West and Western regions of New South Wales. The new 3-tube CARP camera was used and picture quality was greatly enhanced.
"100 years ago, paddle boats like this were a common sight on the Darling River. They played an important part in the settlement of vast areas of western New South Wales and southern Queensland and the establishment of the wool industry. From the 1860s until the end of the century, when journeys into the outback took many months in dusty, uncomfortable coaches, and when all goods were carried over unmade roads on wagons pulled by camel or bullock teams, the paddle steamers were a fast, cheap and pleasant means of transport. The steamers and their barges carried passengers, mail and stores upstream to the isolated stations and returned with the precious cargo of wool.
Peter Dargan, in conjunction with Denise Payne, developed the script.
Took every man to know his job. And so every bargeman, you wouldn't have been on the barge if they didn't know how to row a dinghy well, how to put out a line very quick and don't tie knots that you can't get an axe to undo. Murrumbidgee frog knots, we used to call them. The only way to undo them was with an axe. But if you could tie good knots, you became a good bargehead.
Barges presented special problems for the skipper as well.
In very winding situations in the river, there's places where they would very rarely see the barge at all. They'd see the tow line still coming around the corner. And I've actually spoken to some of the old chaps that have been in that situation.
Hello and welcome to Tibooburra. This is the school sign, and these things here represent the rocks that are around Tibooburra, like up there. They're not found anywhere else except for about a kilometre radius around Tibooburra.
Tibooburra is a hot place. It is often on the weather map. Tibooburra is 336 kilometres from Broken Hill.
Tibooburra is the Aboriginal word that means pile of rock. We're standing in the main street at the moment. That's the bitumen. Not much bitumen. Once you get out of Main Street, it's all dirt again.
Would you rather live in the city or out here?
No way, city. If I had my little house dogs out in the city, they'll be run over by now. You have a really good time up here, I reckon.
Some of the notable pioneers in local media were Alan Newhouse, who was working with secondary students in filmmaking, John Clegg with his colour slides and projection effects, and John Foster with primary students who were also involved in filmmaking. Fortunately, some of the work of these teachers and students has been preserved in the Around the Schools archives.
Take a single frame of a person in one position, and then we shift him ever so slightly to the next position and take another frame, and we continue on until we finish the sequence. What we've done here is have our hero Rocky Armstrong moving around the playground and appearing as though he's skating around on a chair with his superpowers.
ATS programs like Eddie Boger's Photography in the Classroom continue to enthuse teachers in practical media approaches.
We only learned as we went along. The children did their own darkroom work, and they all carried it through right from the word go. We printed our own negatives. Take a photo of him. Mark, look towards the back of us and give a little smile.
Some local and adult education courses were conducted in using modern communication equipment such as the camcorder. High school students doing work experience at the unit were also given this training and practical experience.
Retired Mitchell College lecturer and well-known historian Theo Barker spends a lot of time these days helping people learn about their local history. When the students at Raglan Public School in Bathurst started on their own local history project, Theo offered assistance and we went along to see what he was able to uncover for them. Now, many of the things which Theo showed the children are things which can be found in other towns. And as many of you are sure to be following the lead of the Raglan students at some time during your school career, there'll be a few ideas in today's program for you. The study of local history is also quite a good family project, so Mum and Dad too might be interested in what we have for you today.
People walking up both streets. If the door was on one side, the idea was that people might go in there, but others wouldn't see the door and would walk past, so the door was intended to entice them in, do you see? Now, if you come over here, you will see another group of buildings which look fairly modern now, but when you look at them closely, you can see that they were probably older too.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope that you continue to enjoy your day in celebrating 100 years of the railway at town.
So raise your glass and give a cheer and toast the railway days. In times of change it seems so strange to travel other ways. When the oil runs out you'll hear them shout, what we gonna do? We'll swing the banjo at the firebox door just like they used to do. Hey, hey, what do you say? 100 years ago they laid the rails out to Cowratown where the Lachlan River flows. Hey, hey, what do you say? 100 years ago they laid the rails out to Cowratown where the Lachlan River flows.
In recent years, 1994 to 96, CARP took an independent role, assisting regional communities to gain access to the federal government cooperative multimedia project. And let's have a little look at the clip to see what was involved.
Prime Television is proud to be associated with WorldLink CMC Australia, particularly because of its emphasis on regional Australia. Prime Television and Arts Out West forged a link 10 years ago to give access to the creative talents of Western New South Wales and to give that access to a wider audience.
Till now, culture has always been represented as a city-based thing, which has meant that regional areas have been totally ignored. And regional culture is one of the most exciting parts of Australian culture, and at last there's a chance this can be represented if the CMC's in Bathurst.
Has a fantastic future. Government is predicting that worldwide there'll be at least 30 million systems in operation.
The policy seeks to create a dynamic multimedia industry.
There's a lot of support in Dubbo for the establishment of a cooperative multimedia centre in our region. Here at Bush Telly Productions, we offer to the CMC our expertise in education and training, our expertise in the production of digital media and our production facilities.
The Land Information Centre is one of the many WorldLink Australia CMC Consortium members. They bring into the organisation access to over $2.5 million worth of multimedia-capable equipment. They are uniquely set up to produce CD-ROMs, digital imaging and art-quality commercial printing materials. WorldLink Australia CMC is bridging the gap between commercial industry and education and training. It is formulating policies that will provide the means for traditional education and training institutions to focus on industry-based, hands-on experience with commercial environments. WorldLink Australia will give all Australians a chance to work and train within the finest multimedia.
WorldLink Australia means multimedia for all Australians.